Good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling this episode Caught in a Trap because that's where the Marmatians are. So I thought I'd have a look at the complete Marmatian Air Force. The Marmatians, of course, are still reeling for the tatering they got the other day by the Malagasy strike. They are looking at reconfiguring their Air Force. Now, they do still have around 8 to 12 Su-35s and around 8 MiG-29s left and a load of older kit. But they're having to beg, borrow and steal now to get some more Su-35s and some more MiG-29s after the disastrous result for them in the war game. Now, this is of course made up what-if modelling. The Malagasy Armed Forces struck and the Marmatian Combat Search and Rescue HIPS and its escort, the Heinz, were very busy for the next few days picking up pilots. Now, the Malagasy Armed Forces also helped, and a prisoner exchange was conducted and pilots that had been shot down were returned to their home, and they were all Marmatians. Unfortunately, some passed away, which is a shame, but there we go. That's the result of wargaming. So the key component of the Marmatian air defences is of course the Su-35 and the MiG-29 SMT. They are limited and they're caught in a trap like many nations are. Because if you think of nations like Iran and Syria, they're stuck because of sanctions, and in many ways they can't get hold of the weapons that they require. So whilst the Marmatian Su-35s are in many ways great fighters, they're still carrying the R-27, R-73 and R-77 missiles, and that's what caught them out. They don't have access to AWACS technology or AEWC technology, and they're struggling to get hold of that. The reason they're struggling to get hold of that is because, of course, the main beneficiary, the post-Soviet successor state, is engaged in a costly war with Ukraine, so there isn't the spare capacity. They have been promised more airframes, and until then they'll have to make do and mend. And just as the Su-35s are limited, the MiG-29s are also carrying R-27s and R-73s. The older MiG-23s were completely outclassed. They're still carrying R-24s and R-60s. It was a bad day for them. 8 of them got shot down. They really are in need of retirement. The MiG-23BNs and the MiG-21s didn't feature. The MiG-21s, of course, are used in the ground attack role with the 23BNs, and the Su-22s, the fitters, very elderly aircraft. And they do have some advanced helicopters. They've got the Ka-52 here as a Zvezda kit, and they've got a Mil-28 night attack again as a Zvezda kit. So they do have some modern stuff, but what they lack is electronic warfare, jamming and all the stuff that you need for modern air warfare. And that's why they're caught in a trap. So let's have a look at the board of strategy. If you're only interested in the models, now's your time to look away. But Marmatia is caught in this trap, and it's caught in the trap because of American sanctions, EU sanctions, and of course the main beneficiary, Russia, being heavily committed in Ukraine. Now, the Marmatians had structured their air defences really to face the threat from Oilem. And Oilem is a NATO-backed what-if country. That's where Mozambique is. And Marmatia, of course, is where Tanzania is. And Madagascar is off over here after the Comoros Islands. So they have heavy presence of S-300 sites and Big Bird radars really down south to prevent the Oilems from retaking this disputed border region. The Malagasy Armed Forces struck from the west, wiping out an S-300 site here, damaging a Big Bird radar here, and wiping out an S-300 site here, and damaging badly the Tu-22 base here. The peace of Marmatia has been signed, so they're not going to be buying Tu-22s, although they didn't say anything about Tu-16s. We'll leave that one for the future. So what they have to do is they have to recalibrate their entire air defences. Now, crucial to what they're going to be doing is they're going to be trying to get hold of some MiG-31s. Now, the reason they're going to be looking at these is because the MiG-31 has proved very successful over Ukraine. If you read the Rusi paper, you'll see why. And they will be using the MiG-31s from air bases on the western side. And they'll be dividing the coast into combat air patrol zones. Zone 1 at the top, Zone 2 at the bottom, and Zone 3 down here and out towards the Comoros Islands. Now, the idea of this is that the MiG-31 acts as its own mini AWACS. So the MiG-31s will be on combat air patrol in these areas. So if we draw the caps, the MiG-31 has an extremely powerful radar, and it has a very good missile now in the R-37M missile. So the idea is that these combat air patrols with the MiG-31s, they're all going to be data linked, 2 in each patrol, so they'll need about 18 MiG-31s to make this work. We'll be providing them with a combat air patrol zone. The Big Bird radar, of course, covers out this area as well, and they will have to make the decision, reluctantly, to move some of their S-300 sites out of the disputed border area and to put their S-300 sites back now on the western side. So that does leave the border area vulnerable to oilum exploitation. You can see where this is going. The oilums will likely take the chance, and there'll be some kind of border skirmish coming up in the Wargaming series. But this is unfortunately the decision that you have. Strategically, you don't have the equipment that you need all the time. They need to keep the protection around their capital and their sort of sensitive sites here where they do training and everything like that. Of course, Kenya, very peaceful up the top. Democratic Congo and Rwanda, not so peaceful. So their plan is to base the MiG-31s on the western side of Marmatia, and they'll be looking to use the R-37 missiles to push forwards. The next line of defence is they're going to be moving their remaining Su-35s, which are up here around the capital, and they're going to be reconfiguring, and they'll be moving S-35s to replace the combat losses onto the western side. They'll be moving their MiG-29s that remain south to give some support against the oilums. Unfortunately, and this is the case for many countries in this situation where you don't have everything that you need, is effectively what Marmatia will have to do is create a two-tiered defence system. So this area here will be the domain of the MiG-23s. All the remaining MiG-23s will be pushed east. The MiG-29s will be pushed south, which will probably work because their range is better, and they'll be pushing all of their remaining Su-35s to support the MiG-31s to the west. Unfortunately, that's all they can do. It's very likely that the oilums will take advantage and will go after the border area. Now that they've had to make this decision to move these S-300 sites out of the disputed border area, there's only short-range systems now in that area. They do, of course, have coverage into oilum from the S-300 sites along the border, but the disputed border area is vulnerable now. Unfortunately, there's not much they can do. They are caught in a trap. If you've got any other solutions, let me know. If you know of any suitable 1 in 72nd post-Soviet or Soviet airliners that I can convert to an AWC, let me know. I have one more little look at the Marmatian Air Force, and they have asked for some R-37 missiles to go onto the Su-35s. Of course, Russia is heavily committed And just as the Malagasy armed forces have found, getting things like the Su-57s from Russia now is almost impossible. Nations like this who'd be caught in the same trap, Iran, Syrian Arab Air Force, they're still relying on these very old aircraft. They're caught in the trap and there's not a lot they can do. Take care. Goodbye.